Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new season WCEG Issues and Answers with your host, yours truly, Honorable Valencia Stovall. Well, we're excited. We had a number of times, as well as months, that we were off recuperating and getting ready for our new season on the talk radio show. And we want to keep you informed about what we're doing. And you are listening to the new WCEG Network, WCEGTalkRadio.com, or you can watch us live on Smart TV, YouTube, WCEG Network. We're the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. And I must give you this disclaimer. And it is that this topic and the opinions of those who are on this show today and the hosts and the guests are not the views and opinions of WCEG Network. And you can like us, of course, on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and just follow us. And there are others, of course, that are hosting shows on WCEG, and we're all a big family. So thank you again for joining. And we are here for today's episode. We're going to touch on where's the help and when is it going to arrive. And this help is all of the help that's been promised, that's been saying that's here. And then the people on the other end are the ones who are saying we haven't received the help, or it's taken such a long time to come. So many people are facing financial hardship due to the pandemic. And so even though we see, football games that are taking place, professional games, that people are going to college games and people are going to concerts, that still is not negating the fact that we're still in COVID-19 and there's still a pandemic and there are people still suffering during this pandemic. And I'm going to share actually my own personal journey with everyone today about going through the pandemic as well. But before we even go into that particular story, tomorrow is Clayton County special election for two races. You have the Clayton County Commission District 1 and School Board District 8. Of course, I did not do an endorsement for the commission seat because there are three people that are on the ballot that I believe will make great commissioners. And so, and who have supported me over the years when I was a state representative, and one person I knew even before I was elected. And those three individuals are Regina DeLoach, Elena Reeves, and Jay Brown. So I didn't do any endorsement. I did do some endorsements in a couple of City of Atlanta races for individuals that I met along the way during my tenure, who I think, especially in the school board races, who I think would do a great job. Jason Allen and Casey Vennings, who are running in the City of Atlanta citywide school board races. But those races, of course, are not until November. And it's important for you all to make sure that you have registered to vote. Now, it's too late for the September the 21st race election tomorrow to register to vote. But throughout the county, there are people that are candidates that will be running in the November race. And so you have your local municipality, city mayors, your city council, and school board are those who are actually running. So we have as a special guest, I asked her to do a pop-in session or interview with me today. We have Mrs. Arvis Walker, who is here. How you doing, Mrs. Walker, or Arvis? Well, I relate to you as Arvis while we're on the show. How you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, you look so energized, especially with tomorrow being the big day.
I am. I feel just like I just feel relieved, and I know that my team and I have done all that we can do, and now it's just time for the voters to get out there, and I respect their choice.
Yes. So this is your first time running for office, And definitely you and I have had several conversations, about it. But tell the listening audience, why did you decide to put yourself through all of this to be a public servant?
Wow. I've been asked that question so many times, and it's all about God. It's all about Him choosing me to do this, and me just being that servant to say, I will do it. In my heart, my name means the people's friend, and I
Mhm.
am that. My mom, she says, I named you the right name. I gave you the right name because I love people. And the culture that I have been able to instill over at the high school where I was a PTSA president, and to change the light of that culture, and to be a great leader in that school, I just know that I can do even more in the position as a Clayton County School Board member, and to bring that energy and that enthusiasm into other schools, into our county. That's why I just had to just say yes. I answered the call.
Right. And one of the things is we just so people know, they won't think, oh, why did Representative Stovall, endorse Arvis over the other candidate? And it's not that I didn't think the other candidate, I could not support her. I've known her a while as well. But, I look at relationships means everything. And I know that Arvis and I have worked together for years. She served as the PTSA president, like she said, at Forest Park High School. And I've seen her work, and we worked together. We actually had some accomplishments together. And that tells me that I know that she was my choice for the candidate, not saying anything about the other person. I can work with everybody. And so we worked on projects like we just finished up in August, the back to school, fourth back to school, Clayton County back to school block party.
Yes.
But we had, I know we've had at least 1,000. It might have been more than that, but that's what I'm gonna say. We had a lot of people there, and of course, we took all the precautions with COVID-19. We started planning early for it, but we knew it was something that was needed. We needed motivation in the community, and your energy, yours and my buddy Cedric, and the whole team with the PTSA team, and with Principal Man, all of those who helped to make it successful, Little Ones, of course, and Hand, Heart, and Soul Project. It was just outstanding. And, knowing that you're always there with your energy, and I know that that's going to contribute to you being a successful school board member. Talk a little bit about your experience as far as your in the corporate America, because that's important. Not only your community service, but then your business acumen that you bring in as experience onto the board.
Yes, that's very important. As you mentioned, as the corporate level, I have several businesses. And so I know, and all of my businesses has been started from the ground. And that goes back to the PTSA. When we started from the ground, and we had to build, and that's what we did. So we have several, like I said, I have several businesses. So I'm not afraid to get, like they said, strap up your boots and get to run it. It doesn't frighten me, because I know all I have to do is keep putting one foot in front of the other, and I will get there. So as far as the corporate aspect, I think that I have a associate's degree in business, and I'm proud of myself. I went back to school, got my associate's degree in business, and I plan to go, to even further that. But I have a great platform as far as the business aspects. I know how to start a business. I know where to go. I know that you can. I'm not afraid to ask. I'm not afraid to ask, because at the end of the day, I know also there's only two answers that a person can give me, and that's yes or no. And then you keep moving. I'm not afraid of the no's, because within those no's, you're going to get a yes. And that yes is going to be so bright. That's what we have done. So as far as the corporate, I know that I just know that I can continue to ask. I know how to collaborate with people, just like you and I have done over the years. It's just collaboration and building relationship,
Yes.
building loyal relationships with people. So that's what I think that as a school board member, I know that I'm going to be able to go in there, build relationships, bring the community into the schools, because I've seen that so many people, as I've been knocking on the door, they'll say, well, I don't have any kids. I don't have any
Right.
kids. But you are a part of this community.
Yeah,
All of these kids
they're
are our kids.
taxpayers. Yeah, they're
Mhm.
taxpayers. And, and that's
Yes.
important that you brought that up, because a lot of people think that when you're a candidate for a school board, that you're only trying to get the votes from parents and
Yes.
teachers,
Yes.
but everyone is paying taxes in this is talk about it for Clayton County. It's in Clayton County.
Mhm.
And it's about 60% of your taxes that you pay. It doesn't matter whether you're a homeowner or you're a renter, because if you're renting, your landlord is paying the taxes that you're paying to him or her. And
Exactly.
so, but 60% of those taxes go to the school system. And that's a lot. That means only 40% is left for everything else. So that tells you how important the foundation of education, and everyone can go out and vote. If you registered, you can come out, go out to vote. If you haven't already early voted, tomorrow, what time are the polls opening up?
I want to say 7A to 7P.
Okay, so you all, that's about 12-hour span. So you get into early voting, there's been a lot of talk about restricting voting access. And at the end of the day, it's still left up to us as voters to make sure we get out. I don't live in school board district number 8, but I still can lend my support. And those of you all who are listening as an audience and have family and friends, I encourage you to tell them to look for Walker on the ballot for tomorrow's election. And I know that she's going to do a fantastic job. She's going to ask questions. And guess what? We're here to hold her accountable. And one thing I could say about Arvis, she takes criticism real good. She might not like it, but I could never tell, when I would tell her, don't you do this, don't you do that, watch out for this. Okay, all right, well, just let me know how I can make things better. And that's the type of candidate and person that you want representing you, is someone that can take criticism, turn it around, and make sure that it becomes positive for the situation. And so I know that your team has been working, knocking on doors, making sure that you're connecting with them. And I want to say your team's been doing an outstanding job. I've been loving all of those interaction as well as videos and all that. So I'm going to contact them if I decide to run again.
That's that Honorable Representative Stovall. That's that millennials. Them millennials are no joke, and you have to. And they've been putting me in my place. They're like, no, you can't do that. Oh, okay, y'all are the team. Y'all are the leaders that I chose. These leaders, these young leaders, to assist me in running this race, and they are just amazing. From the babies to the the older millennials. But that's why we've got to just get people engaged and trust the process. I'm trusting the process.
Right. And, when you think about school board, just for those, and I'm going to let you go because I know this is a very crucial time, the day before election. So I don't want to hold you up too much longer. But, when you're talking about school board, you talk about the students. Of course, students should be the center focus. But also you have the teachers and our educators, those who work, in the school system. Being the voice for them is very important. And also they're building those partnerships. And I think that your corporate experience is going to be key in being able to build those business partnerships like you've been able to do at Forest Park High School for the past couple of years. Now, you all won an award. What was that award? I always mess it up, so I don't want to say what the award is.
Well, we have been recognized as National PTA School of Excellence since 2017. And we just won that award even through a pandemic. And we carry it for 2 years. So we've been carrying that award all the way since 2017, all the way through 2022 now. So it's National PTA School of Excellence. And we were back in 2017 named the second best PTA in the nation. So national recognition is
that means that took a lot of teamwork and it took leadership.
Yes, ma'am.
Everything my dad always say, everything rises and falls on leadership. So you all who are listening, you can see that it's not easy winning that award, and she couldn't do it by herself. So you know that she knows how to work as a team player, but then she understands her role as a leader, as to making sure that she's keeping everybody motivated, even when it felt like, especially during COVID, they did this several times, a fantastic food drive that they did for the students. We also worked on the environmental assessment survey a couple of years ago, back in 2019, where we had about 20 students, high school students that came in, and we kind of got them interested in the environment. How does the environment affect them? Those students grew, oh my goodness, their maturity within those 10 weeks was phenomenal. And I think even one of the students saw Miss Walker while she was out in the community, and even, you know, thanked her for what she had instilled in him. And that was just a short amount of time. So that's what we want. We want leaders who believe, who are able to lead, who are able to follow, and also able to get things done. Our school system has come a long ways. We have, you know, some great leaders that are on the school board now. And one of the major things I always say is that the school board is responsible for hiring, evaluating, and firing the superintendent if necessary. And so we've had a lot of conversations about, not just with Ms. Walker as a candidate, but even the other school board members, because that's important. That superintendent's the leader and director of what's going to flow through that, besides up under the direction of the school board. So I know that you're a fair person, so I don't have to, you know, question any of that as far as your integrity. That's why we worked together for so long. We also worked together with Ms. Poindexter. I worked with her. We're doing the teen summit.
The teen summits.
For the COVID,
2 years.
We had done the teen summit at Forest Park High School with collaboration. So I just want to let you all know I didn't just pick her out the sky and decide to support her. You all know me better than that. I'm very involved in the community. And when I say, I'm going to support this person, there's always a reason behind it for things that, you know, we worked good together. So I'm not going to hold you much longer. Tell your crew good job. And I think
one thing.
Yes, go ahead.
I just want to say I thank you. I thank you for your leadership. You have been a great, you have poured so much into me. You know, when I say, I've said this on several platforms that I've been on, that it takes a village to raise a child, but your village does not stop as when you're only a child. Your village only grows as you grow. As you elevate, your village elevates. And I wanted to say, it is so hard for me just to stop saying Representative Stovall, but Honorable Representative Stovall. It has been an honor for me to work with you, for all that you have instilled in me. I thank you. And I take every opportunity right now publicly to say that I honor you for all the work that you've done in our community and for our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And one other thing I did want to say as well, when I ran for U.S. Senate, Arvis and Cedric, they even had my sticker, signed sticker on their truck, running all across Georgia, and so was always so supportive. So you know that it's only right when you have support for support. So
I got a special guest.
Okay, let me see who the special guest. Hey, my buddy.
Robin, take a picture. That's my special guest.
All right.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey. All right. Well, you all, I'm gonna let y'all get out there on that trail. Y'all be safe and try to stay dry. I know it's raining out there. And I think I have a polling location tomorrow. I don't know which one I'll be at, y'all, but I'll be posting it on social media. I'll be out there doing a little campaigning tomorrow.
Go out and vote. Go out and vote, Clayton County. Go out and vote.
To 7 p.m. Arvis Walker. Run, Arvis, run. Thank you so very much, and we'll talk to you later.
Okay, thank you. Have a great day.
Peace.
Well, that was a very exciting interview with Mrs. Arvis Walker, who's a candidate for School Board District 8. And I just want to take time to make sure that I allow her time to speak to you all as the audience about choose to endorse her for her particular race. And as you can see from the conversation, there's a lot that we have had in common, a lot of times that we have worked together. Now, let's get into the topic for today, which is where's the help and when is it coming? So many of you all have heard, saw on TV, like I said earlier, you heard on the radio, there's help for rental assistance. There's help for food insecurity. There's somewhat help that was given for unemployment. So I'm going to take the time today. And, one of the things I wondered, I didn't know why was going through all of this that I was going through during this pandemic. I realized it was for me to share my story on the platform. So I'm not going to go into all the details, but I'm just going to give you a brief overview of what has happened to me as far as with my business. I don't know if you all know that I have had Val Promotions, which stem from our family business of Stovall's T-shirts. And we had been in business 30 years. We decided to downsize back in, I think, 2012 or so. I then started Val Promotions, which is a promotional printing business. And have been doing that since then, even serving while I was serving as a legislator in the legislature. Okay. And so I, have done business like more so part-time, but I still did business. Well, when COVID-19 hit, as you all know, all type of events, everything started being canceled because of COVID-19. And with that, of course, with the printing industry, and you can look at any national trend and a statewide trend, those orders decreased a lot. A lot of people had to be laid off. Some of them, of course, applied for unemployment. Well, with the federal government, of course, they had the PUA, which was the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. And that was supposed to be set aside for self-employed, gig workers, independent contractors, those who normally, if you had lost employment, you could not apply for unemployment because you were self-employed. And no, you didn't have to, as self-employed, you didn't pay into the unemployment system. So the federal government, of course, set aside funds just specifically for that. Where here in the state of Georgia, there were a lot of people that did not receive their PUA. There were some that did, but then there were some who didn't. And when you start thinking about your micro small businesses who are operating in our communities, those are the little we call mom and pop stores that you go and visit. Well, that's the only income that they have coming into their household. They many times don't have it. Even if they had a second job, that's still a part of their income. Well, for me, of course, I was working as a legislator. Still, my business was affected because of the pandemic, but I still had another income that was coming in. So when I applied for the PUA assistance earlier this year, because I no longer was, of course, a legislator, and I had my sole income for my business, I was denied, and they said that I was denied because of personal reasons. Now, I couldn't figure out what was the personal reason if I always had my business, and I didn't want to skim the system by applying when I had the other income that kind of helped balance it a little bit, but it was still unbalanced at the end of the day. And so, of course, I applied, I appealed the decision, and finally, through requesting for an answer to the appeal, I did receive an appeal letter, and then they set up an interview by phone. Now, mind you, I've helped other people to complete, help assist other people who completed their PUA information. They didn't go through none of the stuff that I went through. They eventually got their money and all of that. Then, of course, you all know the governor said, okay, that the state of Georgia was going to cut out the PUA. It wasn't going to let it roll all the way to September. So many of those people who were micro, small business owners, their income stopped coming in. So they end up having to still suffer, even though you might say, well, that's only a couple of months or this and that, but still, that was something to help sustain them. When you think about it, for those of you all who are not self-employed or who probably never thought about being self-employed, it takes a lot. It's a high risk when you decide to be employed because you're only dependent on, that's your only income. That's the way that you're surviving. And so when to have to now say, okay, I don't have another income, I'm gonna have to go and probably go back and work, go back into the workforce to a 9 to 5 to now from I was an employer, now I'm have to now turn it to be an employee. And, and that's a lot. But, you have to do what you have to do. But to me, when there's assistance that's set aside to be able to help those who decide to be self-employed, because remember, those of you all who are employees, you're working for somebody that is self-employed. They have grown their business, of course, that's why they're able to hire you, but they still started off as an entrepreneur. And so my issue with Georgia Department of Labor, you all know when I was elected, I was one of the ones that were vocal out with my other colleagues talking about the claims need to be heard. And these were claims not for people that was necessarily unemployed or self-employed, but those who have been working and lost their employment because of COVID. And there's no way you could tell me through the whole pandemic from 2020 all the way to now that businesses were not affected. And that was the reply that I got, that my business was not affected by COVID. So I think that because, I had been an elected official, had been out there fighting for the people, that in return, they denied my appeal. So of course, today I filed another appeal to the Board of Review, and I will file another appeal to the Superior Court if need be, and will also do whatever I need to do to make sure that I'm not unfairly treated, which I feel that I was unfairly treated because of my position as an elected official. And the reason I brought that up is because there are a lot of people that are out here who are not elected. And I just know that if that happened to me, well, yeah, I could made this phone call, that phone call, but still at the end of the day, I did not get my claim approved. And they're just think of the other regular people who are out there who put in claims and have not gotten their claim approved. And it goes back to what I talked about earlier when it comes to leadership. And it should be fairness. The people that are working in these state departments across the state and in these agencies, they have to have hearts of compassion. They have to know that, number one, that's not your money, that's our taxpayer money. We are the ones the taxpayers gonna have to pay it back anyway. And if it was allocated for, and it's specifically laid out, self-employed, gig workers, independent contractors, all of those who normally do not fall up under the category of being able to file for unemployment, that's what that money was set aside for. So that's one thing I wanted to share with you all about what has happened, what's happening now, and not only with me. So now let's get into the rental assistance. So I've been on several about 3 different calls within the last 3 months because I try to stay involved on what's going on. So the last 3 months I've been on the call about housing and rental assistance. Now, you know that whenever you lose income, the next thing that happens simultaneously is that you're going to need to pay your rent, where you're staying, your utilities, all your other bills that you might have, car note, insurance, all those other things and food, of course, that's necessary. And so that income is affected. So with the rental assistance, the federal government through the emergency rescue plan, they set aside money. And I think recently this month, in August, last month, there was another set of money that came down to the state and also to specific counties that handle their own rental assistance. So the issue is that once these agencies receive the funds, now you all know that I think it was in March, or I think it was about in March, I had guests on my show from DCA, Department of Community Affairs. And at that time, of course, they were talking about the rental assistance program and how they had upgraded it, that now landlords can go into a portal and be able to apply. And also the tenant can go into the portal to apply. And so all that was good when you start thinking about the practical part of it. Now, when you get to the actual part of people actually applying through that portal, there became some problems. And I can't say that this was in every county that it happened, but I know in Clayton County, because I was telling some other people how to make sure they go into the portal to apply and all of those other things. And so, some people went in and applied. At first, they couldn't get an email back, which they said it was going to give them an email back so they could open an account. That didn't happen. I also attended a meeting, a housing meeting several times because they were one of the agencies that had received money as well, but they didn't have a portal. So there were other agencies that you can apply directly to. This is in the beginning, y'all. And some of them did some great work with making sure the money came in. But then when you came into those agencies where there was a lot of bottleneck in there holding up the process, and it's almost like you had to give everything but a pint of blood. And that, I went through that particular process, and it was not an easy process. I'm not, I'm accustomed to making sure I paid everything I need to pay, but I came into a situation with COVID-19. Other than that, I would have been fine. But you have to give us so much information. And I understand they need to verify, I understand that. But then the process of once they get the information, going through, I don't know if some of the agencies were shorthanded, which some of them said they were shorthanded. Well, why not just hire additional people to help with that process? So many people are going through getting eviction notices, and then they had to go and answer to the eviction. At one point, you had the moratorium that was in place. Now, no longer that's in place. So you get an eviction notice, you have to make sure you still answer, but there's a chance you can be put out. So now you start thinking about how does that affect the community when a family is put out? And I'm not talking about those families that have been receiving their unemployment, have been still probably working or doing some other things and earning money that they could pay their expenses. I'm talking about those who just could not pay because of what happened with the pandemic. And some that might have even come down with COVID-19 or their family member that they had to see about them. So those are the people I'm talking about. I'm talking about the scammers. You're gonna always have some scammers out there. I'm not talking about them. But those who are honest citizens and residents who needed the help, but went through the whole process, submitted all their forms, and then you had some agencies where they only had what you can apply online. Now you all think about this. You have someone that's a senior citizen, or someone that's not really up to date when it comes down to scanning documents, because you had to print them out first, then you had to sign it, then you had to scan the documents, and then you scan them, you got to save them in a file. Then you had to email them, so you had to go in, know how to take them out the file and email them. So that's a lot. So you're talking about someone that had limited access. Now remember, we're going through a pandemic, so everything is not open. And at that time, sometimes I think some of the county offices weren't open. So if you had to bring a birth certificate for everybody in the household, you might not have been able to do it. Or say if you did have a birth certificate, say the school system had it, but they were closed, so you can go to the records of the school system to get that information, or the Social Security numbers, Social Security card. So there was so much that was going on that was required that during normalcy, when there's not a pandemic, people can get that information. But with it being a pandemic, I didn't see that there was these agencies that went out the way to make sure that you got what you needed and them understand that you were in need as a person that was in need. So that's one thing with the rental assistance. So not having access to the internet was a factor, and these are things that were brought up at several meetings, and even on the 3 calls. I know 2 of the calls, Zoom calls I was on. This was brought up as far as the help for people and making sure it's accessible. Because of COVID, many offices had closed. They didn't have where you can go on the outside and they could put a package on the outside that you go pick up the package and then have a little box for you to submit the information back in, because you didn't have access to the computer. At one point, the libraries were closed. And even though the libraries are open up now, it's still, everything is limited. It's not full-fledged, everything is still limited. So what about those people that just can't get all what they need? Many times those people end up giving up. And they'll just say, I can't do it. I'm not gonna worry about it. I'll try it. I just can't do it. Then you'll have families affected. And if those families have to move out of that housing situation, and just think, you got a lot of people that's being evicted, where they gonna go? Even if they try to go to another housing location, they're gonna have to stand in line with other people. Then the rents have increased. So, where do you go when you have those things happening? And then you think about it also, say for instance, they're not approved for the rental assistance, right? But they've given their information to their agency. And when they've given that information to the agency has their data that they can use however they want to. So say for instance, In about a couple of more months, they decide they want to apply for another grant. Guess whose data that they're using? That particular person's data that they actually accumulated. But that person didn't receive no help, but they got their data. And when I say data, that means their race, their age, how many people stay in the household, what's the income of the household, when the last time they received assistance. All of those things is when I say data. So who's regulating accountability? So, who's regulating, saying, okay, agency, if you didn't approve that particular person for their rental assistance, in this case we're talking about, then you could not use that data for anything in the future. You must destroy that data within so many days of non-approval. You need to shred their information. Or if you had to have a summary, but nothing that you can be able to use to prove, for you to use for something in the future. Now, another thought, what's going on with the money that's sitting in the account and it's earning interest? Who gets to keep the interest off the money that's being earned? And are there some agencies that are purposely holding off so they can earn interest? I don't know how much the interest is, but that, all these are thoughts of things that come up that you have to think about as a resident. And we're talking about here in the state of Georgia. I can't talk about nowhere else, no other state. I don't know what other states are doing, but I just know what's happening in Georgia and what people are giving me as feedback. And I know the means and other means that I'm on listening so I could get the information, so that I knew my show was coming back on for the first season. And, I'm excited about the show being on, but we're still in a pandemic. We still have, the whole issue with the vaccine. Who should be mandated, should not be mandated, should the employer mandate it, should the federal government that recently issued an executive order to make all anybody that's getting a federal contract and all state agencies or federal agencies to mandate vaccine, or you have to get weekly tested or daily tested. So it's a lot that's going on. A lot of people are suffering a lot when it comes to their mental wellness. They're just not there. And so when you're adding on extra burden, when you can lessen the burden for some of these requirements, and then even when I talked to DCA, Department of Community Affairs today, and they said, well, okay, different agencies have different requirements. Well, why do different agencies have different requirements when the money came from one source? And even for emergency rental assistance. So why can't it be across the board? This is what's going to be required. You have some that require more stuff than the others. And so it's just so much, y'all. Like I said, I just wanted to take this time for the show to kind of talk about what people are actually going through, and even share my whole personal story about the Georgia Department of Labor, the claim appeals process, and even when it comes down to the rental assistance. And so people are suffering. They're out there. Like I said, I don't know why, I went through this whole process. But hey, it's always for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. And I just wanted to let you all know, we're going to continue to fight, whether, in that position, in the position I was in before, even now. I'm not in a position, I don't hold no title. I know some people, but I don't hold any title. But my voice that I'm able to use now is to help motivate you, to tell you that to reach out to your elected officials. Continue on. I don't care if you got to call them every day, because they're the ones, especially on the local level with the county, they're the ones that are assigned that money to these agencies. And if those agencies are not serving you, or you having such a hard time to get a feedback from those agencies, to know what your status is, you need to know. You don't need to hear, well, we're going to get back with you. That's not a good answer. When people are on the edge and they don't know if they're going to be having some place to stay today or tomorrow or next week, they need to know the answer right there. How much more you need? Okay, if you need to increase or improve your software system to be able to gather the information and use and whatever needs to be to calculate it, to make sure that these people fall within this certain income medium. This person was affected from the hardship of COVID. Okay, and then whatever the other criteria was, you can easily be able to see that. And I'm not saying it's easy to go through all this paperwork. And many times, yeah, they've been flooded with a lot of people, but you're going to have to hire some more people. You got to think about it. This is unprecedented. The pandemic is unprecedented. That means you got to do unprecedented things to be able to accommodate what's going on with people. And these people are needing the help and assistance for their rental assistance. And one good thing I can say with the federal government, they have it where they'll pay up to 12 to 18 months forward. Or, you know, if you got back rent, they'll pay that. And then also moving forward until you can be able to get stable. And that's good. Now I'm gonna jump back on the whole issue with self-employed. And if any of you all want to chime in on my Facebook page is where I am. I believe that's where I am. Yeah, I think that's where I am. Then you definitely can do that. Now I think I'm on. Okay, yeah, let me get on my Facebook page because I did share it. Okay. So, and if you want to chime in, or you can go over to, we were on WCEG's page. I don't even see it shared on mine, but if you want to chime in, definitely chime in on some of the situations of things that you're going through. We're at about 4:42. You know, the show is up until 5 o'clock. But let me tag back on something with the self-employed. So this is my thing. If you're cutting out financial support for the businesses, for the business owners, then where is the other additional support that should have been in place? And then many people say, oh, the Small Business Development Center is there. Yeah, reached out to them, didn't get an immediate email back, still waiting on the email for setting up an appointment to talk to them about the business. And even during the pandemic, in August of 2020, I started another business, Georgia Youth Career Center, to be able to help young people from 12 years to 23 when it comes down to working a job that they love to do, which will end up being, their career. And so, but hadn't been able to start that. Why? Because of dealing with the pandemic. So there's a lot of things that our micro small businesses need support in. And that I think that's where it falls upon the local and state government. Yeah, it's good to give the grants, but then you need something what's called continuous help and support. So you give the grant, that's good. Okay, now what am I going to do 3 months from now? Because I got to have income that's coming in. Income coming in, I still got expenses, but I got to have income to come in to balance out so I'm not in the red. And so I think that's where the local government and state government could be able to assist. Now, we all know that if nobody else, no other entity was receiving money, we know the local government has been receiving tons of money. The state government been receiving tons of money. Of course, the federal government has tons of money. So why not have had some kind of program set up for all those small businesses that was affected by COVID-19 to now help them with being able to become suppliers with local government, and the school system also has been receiving funds. So all those government agencies have been receiving funds. So why not find a way, okay, let's see how we can be able to help them at least for 3 months, 4 months, or 5 months, or 6 months until the economy starts picking back up. Yeah, it has picked back up for some, but most of your small business, when I say micro, those are small business, it has not. And you all have seen the increase in prices around the area where a lot of them, especially the food chain industry, they have increased by almost $1, $2 more for that. Now you think about it, you're in a community that already has been struggling. That business owner, of course, has to increase the prices. That means that there's more money that those people in that community are gonna have to pay. Now, if they're suffering with trying to do the rental assistance, need help with rent, need help with food, need help with income coming in, then although those prices increase, the volume of sales in some instances don't increase. And some of them, they do increase. Some businesses have been doing pretty good, while others have not. And then the other issue you have is the supply issue. So when the pandemic hit, of course, it affected the transportation system. So a lot of the supplies that you used to go into the store to be able to get, many of you all could go in the store and you'll see some of the shelves are still kind of empty. And when you ask the employees, they say, oh, we're waiting on a shipment. Well, guess what? Those shipments have to come from a plant or a warehouse plant where those items are actually manufactured. So if those manufacturers have not been back up to speed, that's going to affect the supply chain. And that's what you're seeing now, especially if you wait for some stuff to come from overseas. That's a whole nother story by itself. So I just wanted to say today that we asking where's the help and when is it coming? And some people say, well, the help is already here. When I say when is it coming, I'm saying the accountability part. You know, who is going to be looking out for that little family that just needs some help? They might have already got help before, yeah, but we're still in a pandemic. That, you know, you can't take away from that. We're still in a pandemic. Some people still not moving around as much as they are. Yeah, you might still see people traveling back and forth, going out of town, coming here, but we're still in a pandemic. And that has not changed. So we have to figure out a way on, you know, what can we do new? How can we reinvent? Okay, if I got to go and people say, oh, plenty of people are hiring. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, plenty of people are hiring. But then you start looking, okay, how do you get that to access? Okay, say for instance, you applying for a job and the job said, okay, you got to cover your costs for the background check. Some of y'all might say, they don't do that. Yeah, some business have you to cover your costs for a background check. So now you're in between, okay, who I'm gonna borrow the money from? I already done borrowed money from the other folks already several times. So it's just a lot. I think that when we look at what's going on with the pandemic, I think we have to kind of sit back and kind of really reevaluate that what we used to being able to comment on or look at situations, they're not the same anymore. Those situations are not the same. And until we're able to relook at how is our economy going to be rebuilt back? How is it that our school system is going to be able to survive with now you have virtual, then the parents, the kids go in school, then they come back out of school, they go back in school. That's a lot going back and forth. And so how do those families survive? You know, is it going to come a time where, which I honestly think that there's going to be some legislation introduced that's going to give parents more choice. But then when you say that, okay, where's that help going to come? Okay, if the parents do decide I'm going to homeschool, guess what? They need resources. They're still going to need support and help for them even being able to do that part, especially if they're not educators. So I think that there's a lot for us to consider when it comes down to the pandemic. Where's the help? When is it coming? And I want to give a few announcements before I get ready to close out. So on Sunday, not this Sunday, next Sunday. Will it be next Sunday? No, that's this Sunday. Okay, y'all, I'm almost a week off. On the 26th, September 26th, mark your calendar. You know, when I was elected, we passed the House resolution to designate single parents day in the state of Georgia. And when I think about where's the help, when is it coming, of course, I'm automatically thinking about our single parents across the state who are going through so much, having to be a single parent raising their kids. And so myself, along with National Leadership Group, have collaborated, and Representative Schofield is working with us as well, to form the Georgia Coalition for Single Parents. Well, we're having our next meeting. We had a meeting last month, but we're having a meeting again this Sunday. If you're interested in getting that particular link, I've been posting it on my Facebook page at Valencia Stovall, also on Twitter and Instagram. But send me an email, contact@gostovall.com. That's CONTACT @GOSTOVALL.com. Contact@gostovall.com. So send me an email. I'll send you that link for registration. And we need to all come together. That we have about 5 different committees that we have, that we know that you'll be able to work in one of. We're not talking about all your time, but we got to be able to give back. Especially even if you haven't been a single parent, you still can give back. There are resources that you can be able to help. And if you've been a single parent and your children are now adults, you say, woo, I'm so glad they're out the house. But you still have resources and advice that you can be able to give to help our single parents today. And when I say single parents, I'm not just talking about female, I'm talking about male as well. And, you know, every year we have done the single parent recognition. We're planning on doing that again in March. And so we need some help with putting that event together. So remember, contact@gostovall.com. Thank you all for listening in for Issues and Answers, our new season. And with our upcoming, if you have some suggestions with some of the show, we're gonna bring in some people to talk about self-help, self-care. What do you do during these times that you're going through, so much, especially you very busy, but you got to take time out, for yourself as well. And so we have many other topics that we'll be discussing. And also, I had someone had brought to my attention that in the state of California, San Francisco, I'm going to tell y'all this little tidbit, and y'all can look it up because I didn't believe it. The Angel was the one that told me and Sharon about it. Well, they want to pay people to not shoot each other. So if you got a gun and you're not involved in shooting someone, they want to pay you. I think it's $200 to $300. You even get you get additional money for something else. But I just thought that was crazy. So y'all can Google gun control in San Francisco to pay. I thought it was kind of crazy. I didn't believe it, but I did see the news article on it. And so you think about that. Like I said, tomorrow's election day in Clayton County. November November the 5th. Hold on. November the 2nd is going to be the election, the general election. And that's for city council, mayor, and school board. And that's across the state of Georgia. So it's not just in Clayton County, but tomorrow is a special election in Clayton County. So if you're a Clayton County resident and you stay in Commission District 1 or you stay in School Board District 8, make sure you go out and vote on that on tomorrow. I am looking through my notes to make sure I did not miss anything that I'm supposed to talk about. But we appreciate you all joining us again today. And remember, the 26th, we'll have the Georgia Single Parent Coalition meeting. Make sure you email me so that I can be able to send you that information. And we have a lot of other things that I told you all briefly about the Georgia Youth Career Center. So we're getting ready. Been talking about it. I know I've been talking about it even since last season. But we've been putting a lot of things together because of COVID. You had to kind of shift when you start talking about job shadowing. When also you're talking about internships and mentoring, you're now having to alter a lot of those things that we normally will be able to put into place, but kind of altering. But if you have a young person that's between 12 to 23 years of age, who you would like for them to have some career counselor guidance for them, definitely reach out to me. You could go to Georgia Youth, GAYouthCareerCenter.com, GAYouthCareerCenter.com to sign your child up, and your student, or if you're a young adult, sign yourself up. And we will definitely talk with you about what those career choices are that you might not think about. And when you think about a career, of course, especially in these times, you want to do something that you love doing, something that you don't mind. Even if they weren't paying you, still good up and do it. But it's good that you get paid. But those are the type of things we have to really look at now with so much going on in education, where it's looking like the foundation is a little rocky, but it'll stable back out. But in the meantime, you have to look out for your child and what's going to be best